Hello and welcome to this edition of News on the Hour, in which we bring you 1 hour of the top news stories making headlines across India and the world. So let's begin by taking a look at the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he had fruitful discussions with other leaders at the first Quad summit. Says Quad countries are united by democratic values and commitment to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. White House states US, Japan, India and Australia are committed to working together to tackle shared challenges. Australian PM says Indo-Pacific will shape the destiny of the world in the 21st century. Japanese Premier expresses readiness to advance cooperation to realize a free and open Indo-Pacific. '21st meeting of Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs takes place. Two sides review situation along the LAC. The line of actual control in the western sector agreed to convene 11th round of senior commanders meet at an early date. ISRO launches sounding rocket RH-560 to study attitudinal variations in neutral winds and plasma dynamics. Sounding rockets are one of two stage solid propellant rockets used for probing upper atmospheric regions and for space research. More than 2.82 crore COVID-19 vaccines administered nationwide in largest vaccination program, even as active cases stand over 2,02,000, with more than 1 crore 9,000 recovered and discharged. As global COVID cases cross 11 crore 95 lakh, WHO approves first single-dose COVID-19 vaccine by Johnson & Johnson for emergency use. WHO DG says state of the COVID-19 pandemic in Brazil is deeply concerning. And 100 days countdown begins for 7th International Day of Yoga 2021. Event launched by Union Minister Kiren Rijiju at Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga in Delhi. Now for our top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with Prime Minister of Australia Scott Morrison and Premier of Japan Yoshihide Suga as well as President of the United States Joseph Biden participated in the historic first ever Leaders Summit of the Quadrilateral Framework virtually. In his opening remarks, Prime Minister Modi emphasized that Quad is a force for global good. He said the agenda for the summit meet covers vaccines, climate change and emerging technologies.
We are united by our democratic values and our commitment to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Our agenda today, covering areas like vaccines, climate change and emerging technologies, make the Quad a force for global good.
The Prime Minister underlined India's ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which regards the world as one family. He stressed that Quad will remain an important pillar of stability in the region.
This positive vision as an extension of India's ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which regards the world as one family. We will work together closer than ever before for advancing our shared values and promoting a secure, stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific. Today's summit meeting shows that Quad has come of age. It will now remain an important pillar of stability in the region.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi, his Australian and Japanese counterparts Scott Morrison and Yoshihide Suga, and President of the US Joe Biden came together on Friday evening in the virtual meeting of the Quad group of nations. PM Modi said that he had fruitful discussions with the other leaders at the first Quad summit. The PM said that he reiterated India's commitment to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific in line with India's vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region. PM Modi also in a tweet mentioned about the discussion among the group. In his tweet, he said, I quote, "Our discussions today on vaccines, climate change and emerging technologies make the Quad a positive force for global good and for peace, stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific." Prime Minister also said a landmark Quad partnership has been launched to ensure accessibility of safe COVID-19 vaccines. He added that India's formidable vaccine production capacity will be expanded with support from Japan, the US and Australia to assist countries in the Indo-Pacific region. And briefing media after the Quad summit, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla said that during the first Quad leaders virtual summit, Prime Minister Modi emphasized that Quad is a partnership for global good. He said focusing on contemporary issues such as vaccine, climate change and emerging tech is essential.
The summit saw the Quad leaders adopt a positive agenda and vision, focusing on contemporary issues such as vaccines, climate change and emerging technologies. Prime Minister said at the summit today that he saw this positive vision as an extension of our ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which, as you know, regards the world as one family. At the summit, the leaders sought to strengthen the moorings for peace, stability and well-being among the people of the Indo-Pacific and in the global community.
Further, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla said that the vaccine initiative is the most pressing and valuable among the concrete takeaways of the first summit meeting of Quad leaders. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, United States President Joe Biden, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga and Australian Premier Scott Morrison took part in the meet, which was hosted by the US.
The four countries have agreed to a plan to pool their financial resources, manufacturing capabilities and capacities, and logistical strengths so as to ramp up the manufacture and distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines in the Indo-Pacific region. We believe this will speed up the process of post-pandemic recovery and enable families and businesses to put the COVID-19 crisis behind them and move towards normalization. In other words, this is a special initiative which is designed proactively to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 among countries in the Indo-Pacific.
US President Joseph Biden said the summit is the vital arena for cooperation in the Indo-Pacific, and also that an ambitious joint partnership launched to boost vaccine manufacturing for global benefit.
Free and open Indo-Pacific is essential to each of our futures, our countries. The United States is committed to working with you, our partners, and all our allies in the region to achieve stability. And this is a group of particularly important because it's dedicated to the practical solutions and concrete results. And my counterparts, if you'll forgive me, I'd like to give one example of why it matters. There are many examples. We all have to focus on generating domestic demand and driving sustainable global growth. And we're launching an ambitious new joint partnership that is going to boost vaccine manufacturing and for the global benefit, and strengthen vaccinations to benefit the entire Indo-Pacific. The Quad is going to be a vital arena for cooperation in the Indo-Pacific.
And the President of the United States tweeted the picture of his meeting with leaders of other Quad countries. He wrote that he virtually met with the Quad in the first multilateral summit he hosted as president, and that the US, Japan, India and Australia are committed to working together to tackle the shared challenges they face and to secure a free and open Indo-Pacific region. US President Joe Biden, during the Quad countries' virtual meeting on Friday, discussed challenges posed by China. Briefing reporters, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said in a meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Australian and Japanese Prime Ministers, Biden's efforts to counter China's growing military and economic power in the Indo-Pacific did not focus on China, but touched on freedom of navigation in the East and South China Seas.
During the meeting, the leaders addressed key regional issues, including freedom of navigation and freedom from coercion in the South and East China Seas, the DPRK nuclear issue, and the coup and violent repression in Burma. The President and his counterparts also spoke to the competition of models between autocracy and democracy and expressed their confidence that despite setbacks and imperfections, democracy is the best system to deliver for people and to meet the economic, social, and technological challenges of the 21st century. And I have to say that over the course of the meeting, a sense of optimism for the future, despite the hard times we're in, was on full display. The four leaders did discuss the challenge posed by China, and they made clear that none of them have any illusions about China.
And the White House National Security Advisor also said that the leaders have agreed to meet in person before the end of the year.
The leaders also agreed that they would meet in person before the end of the year, and they launched a set of working groups, including an emerging technology group that will help set standards in key technologies like 5G and artificial intelligence, and another on cyber that will help our four countries meet this growing threat, Korea and Japan.
And Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said that this meeting of Quad leaders is a new dawn in the Indo-Pacific. He added that much can be achieved through partnership of strategic trust, of common hope and shared values.
Namaste. Good morning, konnichiwa, and from Australia, g'day. As we begin a new day here in Australia, it's not yet dawn, but we join together as Quad leaders of nations to welcome what I think will be a new dawn in the Indo-Pacific through our gathering. History teaches us that when nations engage together in a partnership of strategic trust, of common hope and shared values, much can be achieved. When the world emerged from the Great War and our last global pandemic a century ago, it soon found a Great Depression and another global conflict that unleashed a poverty and a devastation that was unthinkable. As we emerge from this global pandemic and the global recession, let us together create a different future. It is the Indo-Pacific that will now shape the destiny of our world in the 21st century.
And Scott Morrison also said that the Indo-Pacific will shape the destiny of the world in the 21st century.
As we emerge from this global pandemic and the global recession, let us together create a different future. It is the Indo-Pacific that will now shape the destiny of our world in the 21st century. As four leaders of great liberal democracies in the Indo-Pacific, let our partnership be the enabler of peace, stability and prosperity, and to do so inclusively with the many nations of our region, to share in their vision as expressed through ASEAN for an open, inclusive and resilient Indo-Pacific.
And Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga expressed his country's readiness to advance cooperation to realize a free and open Indo-Pacific and to make visible contribution for prosperity in the region, including overcoming the COVID-19 challenge.
With the four countries working together, I wish to firmly advance our cooperation to realize a free and open Indo-Pacific and to make visible and tangible contribution to the peace, stability and prosperity of the region, including overcoming COVID-19.
The 21st meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs was held on Friday. The two sides reviewed the situation along the line of actual control in the Western sector and had in-depth discussions on the remaining issues along the LAC in the Western sector. They agreed that the completion of the disengagement in north and south bank of the Pangong Lake provided a good basis for the two sides to work towards early resolution of these remaining issues. The two sides agreed to maintain close communication and dialogue through both the diplomatic and military channels. In this regard, they agreed to convene the 11th round of the senior commanders meeting at an early date so that the two sides could work towards complete disengagement from the remaining friction areas. And it's time now for a short break here on News on the Hour. Coming up will be 100 days countdown for 7th International Day of Yoga that's scheduled to take place this year. More from other segments of news as well. Stay tuned.
Nous sommes l'Inde.
نحن هنود إنديا.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती.
हम हिंदियानी.
सलाम हिंदुस्तान.
We are India.
Welcome back. You're watching News on the Hour here on DD India. And as we were telling you, the 100 days countdown has begun for the 7th International Day of Yoga to be held this year. The event was launched by Union Minister Kiren Rijiju at the Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga in New Delhi. The Union Minister also performed yoga with the general public during the launching ceremony. The 100 days countdown is an important event in observation of International Day of Yoga every year. The government hopes to kindle a mass movement for health and well-being through yoga in the 100-day run-up to International Day of Yoga 2021. At a time when the country and the world are focused on recovery from the adverse effects of the pandemic, such a movement would be highly relevant and contribute significantly to the recovery of the pandemic, lending greater focus to public health, preventive medicine and personal care on both physical and mental fronts. Union Minister Kiren Rijiju launched the 100-day countdown. As we were saying, Yoga Day holds great importance for us. He added that it not only has an effect on the nation, but the whole wide world.
100 days countdown शुरू कर रहे हैं यहाँ से. हम अभी यहाँ एकत्रित होकर के इस काउंटडाउन को शुभारंभ तो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन इसका प्रभाव और इसका मैसेज सिर्फ देश भर नहीं, पूरे दुनिया भर में जाने वाले हैं, क्योंकि अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस हमारे लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है. और जो हमने पिछले 6 सालों में देखा है किस तरह से अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस को सबने स्वीकार किया है, मान्यता मिला है देश और दुनिया में, ये हम सब भारतीयों को गर्व होने की बात है.
And further, he said that yoga is our country's soft power and yoga has the power to bring the world together.
हमारे सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो और पावरफुल जिसका हम सॉफ्ट पावर बोलते हैं, ये योगा से बड़ा सॉफ्ट पावर मैंने देखा नहीं है हमारे देश का। ये आप प्यार से पूरा दुनिया जो है हमारे साथ, हमारे सांस्कृतिक पहचान, हमारा धरोहर, हमारे योग के साथ सब समाहित हो जाते हैं। और ये सॉफ्ट पावर किसी चीज से इसका रिप्लेसमेंट नहीं हो सकता।
And under India's largest COVID-19 vaccination program, more than 2 crore 82 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered nationwide. A total of 2 crore 82 lakh 18,457 vaccine doses have been given. 20 lakh 53,537 vaccine doses were given on Friday. And let's now take a look at COVID-19 updates from across the country. As per the Union Health Ministry, 19,957 recoveries were recorded in the past 24 hours, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 1 crore 9 lakh 73,260. With this, the recovery rate currently stands at 96.82%. India's total active caseload stands at over 2 lakh 2,000. The country's present active caseload consists of 1.78% of total positive cases. The fatality rate stands at 1.40%. An Indian space research organization, ISRO, on Friday evening launched sounding rocket RH-560 to study attitudinal variations in the neutral winds and plasma dynamics. The rocket was launched by ISRO at SDSC Shar, Sriharikota. As per the space organization, sounding rockets are 1 or 2 stage solid propellant rockets used for probing the upper atmospheric regions and for space research. They also serve as easily affordable platforms to test or prove prototypes of new components or subsystems intended for use in launch vehicles and satellites. And President Ramnath Kovind will be on a 3-day visit to Uttar Pradesh beginning today. He will reach Varanasi this afternoon. Tomorrow, the President will visit Chapki in Sonbhadra district, where he will grace the Varanasi Samagam. President will also inaugurate the newly constructed building of Seva Kunj Ashram. On Monday, he will grace the inaugural session of Jagran Forum on issues of Ganga, environment and the culture of India. The event is being organized by a newspaper in Varanasi. And according to the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, from the 1st of April 2022, government departments will not be able to renew certificate of registration of the vehicles after 15 years. This will apply to all government, central, state, union territory, PSUs, municipal bodies and autonomous bodies. A notification of the draft rules was issued to this effect yesterday by the ministry for public consultation. The charkha has been associated with the freedom struggle and it has inspired the nation to become Atmanirbhar. A charkha has been installed at Sabarmati Ashram, rotating full circle with each tweet related to Atmanirbharta. The idea behind it is to connect the younger generation with the thought process of previous ones. Our correspondent Marklin spoke to the people associated with the campaign.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has once again put the charkha at the center of a revolution for India's change, a new India. With each tweet on Atmanirbhar Bharat and Vocal for Local, the Prime Minister has put this charkha on the world map in a sense because it will revolve on each tweet.
Towards a grand cause, that is Make in India, or which is spreading by, we are like spreading this cause by a tweet campaign, vocal for local. So this campaign is like encourage people to use local products in your country, local market in your states.
Gandhi ji thought that this is the symbol of our independence. We can get independence through charkha also, because as Modi ji told, Atmanirbhar Bharat. As Gandhi ji also thought this thing, that independence, if each and every person of our country and villages should have employment. So Gandhi ji told that if we want independence or self-dependent, so we should run charkha.
गांधी जी का मेन मोटो था डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन, प्रोडक्शन बाय मासेस, अगेन द मास प्रोडक्शन. उन्होंने कहा कि मास प्रोडक्शन होता है, एक बंदा कितना सारा कमाता है, पर ज्यादा हाथों को काम कैसे मिले, ये उनकी सोच थी. चरखा उसमें एकदम उनको सही लगा कि चरखा तो हमें चलाना ही है हर हाल में.
And Port Blair, along with the rest of the country, is celebrating our 75th anniversary of independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. On Friday, a number of events took place in the capital city of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Lieutenant Governor of Andaman and Nicobar, Admiral D.K. Joshi, paid floral tribute at the Martyrs Column, National Memorial Cellular Jail. He also flagged off a freedom run from the historic jail, which culminated at Flag Point. And in Aizawl, at least 6 homes were gutted in a fire in Maubok locality. The incident took place this morning. However, no loss of life has been reported. Nearly 15 families were affected as their homes were gutted and some partly damaged. Fire tenders were rushed to the spot, and with the assistance of local residents, the fire was doused. The cause of fire and the loss incurred are being ascertained. Mizoram Minister Lal Ruat Kima and local MLA also rushed to the spot and took stock of the situation. Time now for another break here on News on the Hour. Lots more on the other side. Stay tuned and keep watching DD India.
A global pandemic that's causing havoc worldwide. Search for an effective vaccine is on. Until then, the only option is caution and prevention. Now that the country has opened up under Unlock 5, it's all the more critical that we don't let our guard down. Face mask has been found to be the most effective means to fight the spread of COVID-19. World Health Organization and various researchers have also found that masks are critical in mitigating the spread of COVID-19. When you wear a mask, you protect yourself and people around you. Wearing a face mask helps prevent the spread of COVID-19, but only if worn properly.
बिना मास्क
या फेस कवर के घर से बाहर निकलने की अभी कल्पना करना भी सही नहीं है।
Be a part of DD India campaign. Mask Up India. Come and join our initiative to fight COVID-19. Share your stories of masking up with us on Facebook and Twitter.
Mask Up India.
It's a simple task. Just wear a mask.
Mask Up India.
Mask Up India.
Mask Up India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching News on the Hour, and now for some international news. The World Health Organization on Friday approved a vaccine developed by Janssen, that's Johnson & Johnson, for emergency use in all countries and for COVAX rollout. The decision comes on the back of the European Medicines Agency authorization, which was announced on Wednesday. The vaccine from Janssen is the first to be listed by the WHO as a single-dose regimen, which should facilitate vaccination logistics in all countries. The ample data from large clinical trials shared by the company also show that the vaccine is effective in older populations.
Today, WHO gave emergency use listing to Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine, making it the fourth vaccine to receive WHO's approval. Emergency use listing is the green light for a vaccine to be procured and rolled out by COVAX. As you know, the J&J vaccine is the first to be listed as a single-dose regime. WHO will convene its strategic advisory group on immunization experts next week to formulate recommendations on the use of this vaccine. We hope that this new vaccine will help to narrow vaccine inequalities and not deepen them. The COVAX facility has booked 500 million doses of the J&J vaccine, and we look forward to receiving them as soon as possible.
Brazil's health regulator, Anvisa, on Friday gave its final approval for AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine developed with Oxford University. The vaccine will be manufactured domestically by the Fiocruz Biomedical Institute. This vaccine is already being administered in Brazil but is registered only for emergency use. The jabs have been imported from India. The World Health Organization on Friday said that the state of the COVID pandemic in Brazil is deeply concerning and serious action needs to be taken to deal with rising cases and deaths in the country.
The situation is very concerning. We're deeply concerned, actually, because not just the cases, number of cases, but the number of deaths is also increasing. So to have a dent on the transmission to make a significant impact, there should be very serious social measures that should be taken, and with the participation of the community. If the situation in Brazil continues to be serious like this, then the neighboring countries will be affected. And it's not about the neighboring countries, but it could go even beyond.
And the Democratic Republic of Congo has delayed rolling out AstraZeneca's coronavirus vaccines. The decision has been taken citing the suspension of the use of shots by several European countries. Congo had received 1.7 million doses of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine via the global COVAX vaccine sharing program on the 2nd of March. A World Health Organization expert advisory committee is currently looking at AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine after some countries paused distribution of the shot. and at least 50 show business workers camped inside Odeon Theatre in Paris on Friday, demanding President Emmanuel Macron's government reopen cultural venues and end months-long halts to performances because of the pandemic. And the sit-in entered its 8th day on Friday as protesters rejected an additional financial assistance for cultural venues and artists pledged by the government a day earlier. The protesters include actors, theatre workers and students who say there is no reason to keep cultural venues closed as social distancing measures can be imposed. Theatres, cinemas, art galleries and other cultural spaces have been shut since October when France entered its second nationwide lockdown. Much of the economy reopened in mid-December, but cultural venues have remained closed. In other COVID news, to battle a third wave of infections, Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta on Friday extended a nationwide overnight COVID-19 curfew for 60 days. In a televised address, Kenyatta said the positive test rate hit 13% in March compared to 2% in January. Lockdowns and other restrictions to contain coronavirus contagion have stifled revenues and hampered growth in Kenya.
The nationwide curfew is hereby extended for a further containment of 60 days, and in that regard, all bars and restaurants and other establishments open to the public must, as is current, close by 9 p.m. Cognizant that the propagation of the coronavirus within our borders has been fueled by political gatherings and large social gatherings, today I direct that all forms of political gathering be and are hereby prohibited for a period of 30 days, effective midnight on this 12th of March, 2021.
And let's now take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the world. The virus has infected more than 11 crore 96 lakh people across the world, while the number of recoveries stand above 9 crore 62 lakhs. So far, over 26 lakh 51,000 lives have been lost due to COVID-19 globally. The US continues to remain the worst hit, with the number of COVID-19 cases crossing 2 crore 99 lakhs. The country has registered more than 5 lakh 45,000 fatalities. And some more international news. The city of Minneapolis has agreed to pay $27 million to settle a lawsuit by the family of George Floyd. The suit was filed by his family over his death in police custody. The settlement includes a $500,000 contribution from Floyd's family to the community at the Minneapolis intersection where Floyd died. The 46-year-old black man, George Floyd's case, had stirred not only national but also international outrage against racial injustice and police brutality. Floyd died in May as a white Minneapolis police officer kneeled on his neck for nearly 9 minutes. And amid calls for resignation over the allegations of sexual misconduct, New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo has refused to step down. 7 women, mostly former aides, have accused the governor of sexual misconduct. Cuomo's refusal to step down came after the state legislature announced it would open an impeachment investigation into the allegations that will run parallel to an investigation led by the office, the New York State Attorney General Letitia James. The governor, meanwhile, has urged the public to wait for the results of these investigations before passing judgment. The events have cast a long shadow over the political future of the high-profile Democratic figure of Andrew Cuomo. Torrential rains in Peru have caused massive destruction and pushed thousands to displacement. Residents in Peru's capital Lima desperately tried to cross a river to escape flooding by floating on a makeshift boat made of a tire and wood. Firefighters in Amazon's Bagua rescued an elderly woman who was trapped inside her home after heavy rain caused one of the abode walls to collapse, blocking her exit. Peruvian authorities have warned that the ongoing heavy rains are likely to cause more flooding, and the regions of Lambayeque, Cajamarca, Piura, Tumbes, Junín and Huánuco are expected to be particularly susceptible to continuing damage. A footage captured by protesters in Myanmar's Yangon shows barricades block streets and fireworks aimed at heavily armed security forces. Visuals from a GoPro mounted on a protester's head shows demonstrators, some wearing plastic helmets and carrying makeshift shields on the streets, using fireworks and petrol bombs in clashes with security forces. Rallies on Friday came a day after a rights group said security forces had killed 12 protesters, and as the lawyer of deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi ridiculed new bribery allegations against her. As many as 70 protesters have been killed since the coup in Myanmar on the 1st of February, when army ousted Aung San Suu Kyi's elected government and detained her and officials and set up a ruling junta of generals. The United Nations human rights investigator in Myanmar called on Friday for a collaborative international stance against the military, which seized power on the 1st of February and has cracked down on protesters. UN human rights investigator on Myanmar, Thomas Andrews, described the murders, beatings, the torture, arbitrary detentions in Myanmar as crimes against humanity.
To the terror and lawlessness that those who have illegally grabbed power in Myanmar have unleashed on the people of Myanmar. I have described the murders, the beatings, the torture, the arbitrary detentions, the systematic destruction of human rights, and the mounting evidence that we are witnessing crimes against humanity. No one should have been surprised to hear representatives of the junta tell us that the authorities have been exercising utmost restraint to deal with protesters. Utmost restraint. Madam President, it appears that the junta of Myanmar is asking this body and the world to disbelieve our own eyes, that is witnessing day after day the brutality that has been unleashed on courageous, committed, and peaceful protesters, to instead believe the words of the junta.
And a number of youth in Abobo on Friday spontaneously left their classrooms to march down to the town hall to honor late Prime Minister of Ivory Coast, Hamid Bakayoko. Bakayoko, who died of cancer earlier this week, was mayor of the densely populated and poor commune in the capital Abidjan. He was appointed Prime Minister in July 2020 after the death of his predecessor, Amadou Gon Coulibaly, Ouattara's handpicked successor. A number of countries, including the US, called on Russia on Friday to release Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny, saying his imprisonment was unlawful and demanding an investigation into his poisoning last year. In a statement read out by Poland to the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, they said that actions by Russian authorities against the opposition leader were unacceptable and politically motivated.
To immediately and unconditionally release Alexei Navalny and hundreds of other Russian citizens detained for exercising their rights.
And Poland too has called for immediate and unconditional release of Navalny and all those unlawfully or arbitrarily detained.
We call on Russia for the immediate and unconditional release of Mr. Navalny
and of all those unlawfully and arbitrarily detained, including for exercising their rights to freedom of peaceful assembly, freedom of expression, and freedom of religion or belief. We urge Russia to respect its obligations under international human rights law, as members elected to the Council shall uphold the highest standards in the promotion and protection of human rights.
And Russia has previously described such criticism as interference in its internal affairs. Navalny's lawyers on Friday said that he had been moved from a jail in Russia's Vladimir region and his whereabouts were unknown. Thousands on Friday marched in central Beirut, demanding a new independent government to lift Lebanon out of a deepening crisis. The frustration of the country's financial meltdown has been mounting for some time. Lebanon's economic crisis is posing the biggest threat to its stability since the 1975 to 1990 civil war. Surfacing in late 2019, it has since wiped out jobs, locked people out of their bank deposits, slashed 85% of the value of currency, and raised the risk of widespread hunger. The problems were compounded after a port explosion in August that devastated whole tracts of Beirut, killing 200. An Iranian shipping company on Friday said that one of its container ships, Crore, was damaged in an attack in the Mediterranean. The company further said it would take legal action to identify the perpetrators of what it called terrorism and naval piracy. The ship was slightly damaged in Wednesday's incident by an explosive object which caused a small fire. However, no one on board was hurt. And it's time now for another short break. More on the other side. Stay tuned. Keep watching News on the Hour.
Window to Rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back. You're watching News on the Hour, and in business news, we begin with an update on the US stocks. The blue chip Dow powered to its fifth consecutive record high on Friday as investors bought shares that should benefit from a strong reopening of the US economy, an outlook signaled by rising yields in the bond market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 291.74 points to 32,777.33. The S&P 500 gained 3.98 points to 3,943.32, and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 78.81 points to 13,319.83. 7. And in cricket, England beat India by 8 wickets in the first T20 at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad last night. Put into bat first, India scored 124 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in the stipulated 20 overs with the help of Shreyas Iyer's 67 runs of 48 balls. Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya were the other 2 notable contributors to the Indian team, scoring 21 and 19 runs respectively. For England, pacer Jofra Archer registered 3 wickets, while Adil Rashid, Mark Wood, Chris Jordan and Ben Stokes took a wicket each. In reply, England chased down the target of 125 in 15.3 overs, riding on Jason Roy's 49, Jos Buttler's 28 and Johnny Bairstow's 26 not out. For India, Washington Sundar and Yuzvendra Chahal took a wicket each. England now lead the 5-match series 1-0. The second T20 will be played tomorrow at the same venue. As popular American modern dancer and choreographer Martha Graham from the late 1800s once quoted, "Dance is the hidden language of the soul." We take you to Russia, where dancer Emira Bagauti-Donova created one of the country's most prestigious stages for the frozen waters of the Gulf of Finland. Braving freezing temperatures in her ballerina shoes and white tutu, Bagautinova filmed herself as she performed arabesques and plies on the frozen waters of Batarenaya Bay. Take a look. And a group of young designers in Vietnam have made an effort to honor ethnic women, giving them an opportunity to earn via their art. The group has integrated brocade into jewelry to honor them. These women are storytellers who use colors and patterns to present their history, culture, and their daily lives. The group has combined hand-woven brocade of the Cham people in Mainihep village with Bautruk ceramic heads, beads to create unique accessories that possess the rustic vibe of Ninthuan culture. These items are from the Po Inu Nagar collection, named after the goddess mother of the Cham people and also the guru pioneer of weaving techniques. These women are storytellers who use colors and patterns to show their history, culture, and their daily lives. And in the United States, a 3 treasures sale of rare stamps and a gold coin from the personal collection of shoe designer Stuart Weitzman is set to fetch millions of dollars at an auction at Sotheby's in New York City in June. The 1933 double eagle coin was originally cast as a $20 coin, although it was never issued for use after US President Franklin Roosevelt took the country off the gold standard. All of the double eagles were ordered destroyed. Now the only 1933 double eagle coin ever allowed to be privately owned is up for sale at Sotheby's, with the auction house estimating the coin will sell for between $10 million and $15 million. Sotheby's luxury division senior vice president Richard Austin said the exquisite design of the double eagle has led to it being described as the Mona Lisa of coins. Issued in 1856, the magenta is the rarest stamp in the world and the only stamp of its kind. It is now expected to sell for between $10 million and $15 million. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of News on the Hour. We hope you enjoyed our presentation for the past 1 hour. And as always, as we go, we leave you with an image to make your day all that much better. Today, it's about birds and animal lovers and how social media has a lot of content to look at. There's something extremely enjoyable about watching these animals' adorable antics, which often leave people with a happy feeling in their hearts. From nurturing Japan's panda to a relaxed cat getting a massage at a salon, to a bird getting a cold shower, or the squirrel eating a walnut. We leave you with these trending viral videos from the animal world to brighten up your weekend moods. Take a look. Namaskar.